Alright, this is going to be a double review for the Park Zone Ember 2 and the Park Zone Sukhoi. Now these are both very great ultra micro RC planes. There's a big difference in the two. Other than the price, the Ember 2, let's first off go through the prices of these two aircrafts. The Ember 2 comes in two different versions, the bind and fly version and the ready to fly version. Now the bind and fly version is the exact same as the ready to fly version, except it does not come with a transmitter. Now this transmitter is actually my E-flite Blade MCX helicopter transmitter, and it works with both of these planes. So if you have a DSM-2 transmitter, you can get the bind and fly versions of this of the Ember 2 or the Sukhoi, and your transmitter will work as long as you have a DSM-2 transmitter. So let's go over the differences in these two planes. I plugged this Ember 2 in and I'll show you the differences real quick. First, let me just show the plane a little bit. The Ember 2, what comes in the box is, of course, you get the plane. The plane comes with landing gear, which are removable. Simple take off, stuck on the battery here. Take off or put on. It's real simple to put on the landing gear. And really, I don't fly with the landing gear very often because I usually go to a field where there's grass and I'm not trying to take off or land. So usually you're going to want to fly without the landing gear. Now I have found that the Ember 2 is very nose light or tail heavy. It really likes to pull up. So I do usually give it a little bit of down elevator trim, which isn't showing up right now. But I usually slant this a little bit upwards actually, which would give it downwards pull. Just a teeny little bit. And that keeps it straight, because this plane does like to nose up. It's very light in the front and it does nose up. So once you get it trimmed out though, this flies very good. Now I'm going to show you this plane versus the Sukhoi. Now this plane, you have three channels. Your three channels are your throttle, your elevator, and your rudder. Now I'm going to show you one other thing, and this is good for all remote control planes, helicopters, anything. Packing tape or any type of good strong tape can work wonders, I guess is what I should say. My tail here, I did break it off. As you can see, it looks kind of farther than it used to be. It looks kind of not correctly done on there. That's because I have broken my rudder off, only my rudder. And what I did is since it was half broken, I cut it very carefully with an X-Acto knife. And I got it fully off, so this was a separate piece. And then what I did is I used very small strips of tape. You don't want to make the strips too big because you want this to move freely back and forth. So very small pieces of tape, and I'm holding it back on with that. And as you can see, it's straight, and if I go left, and if I go right, I'll show you from the top, it works perfect. It goes back to center every time. So if you ever damage one of your remote control planes or helicopters, let's say the wing cracks, I've had the tail crack actually. I don't know if you could see it, but you see this little bit of plastic here? That's tape also. My rudder crack, this is my elevator. My elevator cracked, and again, little piece of tape will fix that. If you have a problem, usually a piece of tape will fix it if it's a very small crack. I've gotten better at flying now. Well, not really better, but I've gotten smarter. I go to larger fields. Even though this is a small plane that can be flown in small areas, you know, the bigger the field you have to fly in, the less likely you are to hit something, and the less likely you are to get stuck in a tree. I broke my rudder because I was flying behind my house. I was doing some inverted flight. And check out my flight videos. I have flight videos of the Ember 2 and the Sukhoi, which I'm going to come to next. It's a pretty good flyer, and if you check out my flight videos, you'll see the difference. Now the Ember 2 is something that a beginner pilot would like. It has three channels, like I said. The three things you control are the throttle, the elevator, and the rudder. Flies very great. Check out my flight videos. This would be good for anyone. Someone that's flown before and just wants, you know, an advanced pilot, even an intermediate pilot, that just wants to fly it around their backyard for fun. And this would be perfect, absolutely perfect for a beginner pilot. You know, those larger planes that are wooden and they're a lot bigger and heavier, if you crash one of those even once, you can destroy the plane. And you know, you could have to rebuy the whole thing or spend tons of time rebuilding it. Whereas this, it's so light that if you're careful and, you know, you kind of learn to crash, I know that kind of sounds weird, but if you learn how to crash so you don't crash too hard, you really won't do any damage to it. The only thing I've done to this one is pull off the back rudder, and that was, like I said, just because I happened to hit something. But it doesn't really get damaged too much as long as you're careful. So with 3 channels, you're controlling left, right, up, down. That's all you control. There's no roll to the plane. So this is a beginner plane or an intermediate and advanced pilot who just wants to have fun. But if you're looking to learn RC helicopters, I also fly those, RC planes, this is perfect. Now let's go to the Sukhoi, and I'm going to put the camera down real quick just so I can plug in the battery, so I can show you the difference in controls. Now the Sukhoi in the instruction manual, it says to put the battery as far back as possible, and I found that to be the best position because the Sukhoi does seem to be a little bit nose heavy. It's hard to sometimes do loops because it is kind of nose heavy, but you can do everything, inverted flight, everything with this thing. Now let me just talk real quick. The Sukhoi is not for the beginner pilot. If you have never flown a remote control plane before, please do not start with the Sukhoi. Almost definitely you're gonna crash it, and you're just not gonna have a fun time. You know, you're not gonna learn on this. This is a plane that you need to fly only after you've learned how to fly. You need to learn orientation, and you need to learn a little bit about how to fly, so that when you get this, you don't just crash it. This thing is a lot of fun, and again, I have some flight videos up. Check those out. But let me show you the difference. Now, I'll go through the box really quick. This Sukhoi comes in a bind and fly only, so you cannot get it with a transmitter. It comes with the plane, an extra propeller, which admittedly, I did break my first propeller. The first propeller has a prop saver rubber stopper on the front. The new propeller didn't come with that, and I could have tried to glue it on, but I just left it off to reduce the nose weight, because as I said, this plane is a little bit nose heavy. And actually, like I said on the Ember, I usually elevate a little bit downward thrust. On this one, I usually put a little bit of upward thrust. As you can see, it's a little bit down, and that's giving me up thrust. And that's usually how I have to have this Sukhoi, enable for it to keep steady, keep straight. Because it is a little nose heavy. But once you figure out how to fly it, this thing's great. Now let me show you the difference. Like I said, the last plane, the Ember 2, is 3 channels. This is 4 channels, and channels essentially means what you control. This has 4 things to control. I'll just show you. The first channel is the throttle. Oh, I don't think I went through the rest of the box. Wow, I'm just kind of getting away from myself here. Go through that really quick. So you get the plane, you get an extra propeller, you get your landing gear, which is on my plane, and you get a battery charger, you get 1 battery, which is in the plane, and you get a set of AA's, which goes on the charger to charge the LiPo battery that you use on the plane. And that's all that comes in the box other than the instructions. Alright, so let's get back to the plane. I only got 1 minute here, so this is going to be a quick ending. As I said, you got the throttle, you have the rudder, just like the 3-channel plane. Looks a little bent here. I gotta work on that. Yeah, my rudder is definitely a little bent. I gotta fix that. Anyways, we got the rudder, which I'm not gonna move again because I got it standing up straight. Have the elevator control, and that's what you have on the Ember. But this has 1 extra. It has the ailerons. I'll show you here. That's the ailerons, and that causes rolls. So you can roll this plane by spinning it. It'll spin left or right, completely spin itself. And that's what the 4th channel does. Now that makes it harder to control, so this is for advanced pilots. I'm running out of time here, so I gotta go. But I showed you what's in the boxes of both, and like I said, if you're a beginner, start with the Ember. Once you know what you're doing, This is a wonderful little plane.